Hey, you know what? Here's a hot take. 3D printing sucks, and I hate it. Get it out of my face. Your terrain looks like crap. Nobody wants it. There's the clip for the beginning of the show. Mini Takes Podcast.
Look, if I open up your painting tutorial and the first step is getting out an airbrush, buddy, I'm not watching.
Bunch of nerds on the internet. Are you even having fun with this anymore?
Shane, if this happens, there's going to be wailing and gnashing of teeth, people burning their armies.
If you can't see it, don't paint it. Austin,
Hey, how's it going?
we look like villains.
Yeah, we are here in our brooding phase. We are brooding over news.
There's been a lot of
Yes, ma'am.
news, and we're going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to talk about how painting is dead, and that's kind of sad to me because I quite enjoy it.
Yeah, it's overrated at this point.
Yeah, it's totally done. You know, your 10 painting points are going to come in the box. But we're going to talk about it. But first, as always, we're going to read your comments. Mini Takes wants your takes. And the way you give your takes is either over in our Discord, which is totally free to join. Click the link below. Hang out with us. Say what you want. Agree. Disagree. That's even better, honestly. If you're a bleep hole, we'll kick you out. It is not like there's no Bill of Rights over in the Mini Takes Discord.
No, we are not constitutional.
No, we are kings of the castle. Down below in the YouTube from last week, we have some things. Trey Kinley, 34.99 says, getting back into. Oh, last week we talked about getting back into the hobby. So you've already been in it before, and now you're going to jump back in with 11th edition starting. Trey says, getting back into any hobby usually costs a minimal amount, maybe a single set of equipment, or even maybe a set of books. However, there are exceptions to the rule where you need to do a full overhaul to even be playable/competable, such as card games where you need new or updated cards, and Warhammer where certain things need to have new bases and need to spend a sum to get it partially or wholly redone from scratch. Even with hobbies, sometimes people do indeed consider the cost if they want to get back into it in the first place, both for some form of game and sport. Yeah, that's all probably fair.
Yeah.
What's that?
All right, so it's all truish. It's all within the realm of truth and possibility.
Yeah, kind of. You know, it's horses for courses. Everybody's experience is going to be their own, largely. The Pansy Man, who's become a frequent contributor, says, I call foul on referring to a power... This one's at you, Austin. I call foul on referring to a power tool for minis as, quote, barbaric, end quote. Any self-respecting orc player owns a Dremel tool for chopping minis apart for kit bashing. How else are you going to put an orc head and power claw on a Gilliman body? I agree with him on this. I am not afraid to apply a little bit of horsepower to my miniatures.
Well, these are different realms. This is the Dremel realm in which we are doing kit bashing and stuff, which makes sense. That's a destructive process. The painting process of attaching a miniature to a power drill and violently spinning it in a subterfuge until it extrudes the quick paint, or what was it, the quick tone from Warlord. Army painter. That is a violent process. That is a violent, messy process.
Well, I hear you, but I will counter, and I can prove it, okay? Here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to do. Austin, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to see your take, and I'm going to test it. Because I'm going to give you my can of quick shade.
Oh my gosh, do not do that. I don't know what to do with it.
Well, you know what? You try it.
I have their.
You try it. You try it one time and tell me you don't want to stick those suckers on the bottom of an electric drill to get it off. Your dude will look glazed.
What it's going to be is I'm going to throw them at the wall. I'm going to throw the miniatures at the wall, see if they stick, or if they fall off. If they stick, they're not done yet. I gotta wait for them to bounce off the wall.
They have to be just al dente.
Yeah. My models have to be al dente.
Al dente quick shade. Yours are Italian. Your bolt action
Yeah,
guys are Italian. If they're al dente with the quick shade, they'll be perfect.
yeah.
Truly a one-step painting process. It's going to put mustaches on them and everything. It's incredible. But you got to get it off with a drill. Otherwise, they'll just look like you dipped them in mud or motor oil. We've got another comment from the Pansy Man, and this one's kind of interesting, okay? Listen up. Speaking of Apocalypse, as we did briefly, which I was like, I've never seen Apocalypse in the wild. I don't think people actually play it. Yada, yada, yada. Anyway, if you two are interested in it, I'll probably run an Apocalypse game of Grimdark Future sometime soon at the local game store. Yes, your local game store and mine. It will be great and take a long time, probably 4 to 5 hours. The Pansy Man is known to us.
Oh well, here's an interesting tidbit is that I had long suspected that the Pansy Man is who I think it could be, and this is further aligning my corkboard of string into the right direction.
Yeah, I had no idea and still have no idea, and I think I like it that way. Sometimes people, by the way, look, I give takes on the internet. I say a lot of stuff. Sometimes people challenge me in public. They're like, "Hey, why you talking all that noise about XYZ?" To which I will, usually, without fail, so far in life, so far, have never had to walk anything back. I'm like, yeah, I will say that to you. So I kind of like that. I put the Pansy Man in jail a couple weeks ago because he posited that you could go get yourself a gallon of outdoor latex or three and get your three colors on your model that way. Jail. Should I see Pansy Man in the wild with his gallon of latex in hand, I'm going to make a citizen's arrest.
Hmm.
We've got one more. This comes from Spotify. We've had a lot of listeners on Spotify lately. Spotify's really taken off, and we finally got big enough over there and on the various podcast apps to turn on the ads. And this has got a little bit about that in Dave and Company, another freakish contributor's comment thereon. He says, Shane, you foolish optimist. You need to buy a brand spanking new codex for 11th edition. The current 10th edition codex will carry over until that Army's 11th edition codex drops. Then you'll be locked out and have to buy a new one. It stinks. I buy a $50 to $70 book and it's obsolete in less than 3 years. By the way, the ads must be local while listening to you guys. A commercial played for Stony Brook Hospital. Stony Brook is where I went to college, which is where I met Pete and got into 40K. Cool, huh? He says. That is cool. Now, the reason I bring up these ads over on Spotify is that we don't pick what they are. We have no idea what they are. If they are something that you find unsavory, offensive, against your particular likes, wants, and dispositions, politically, socioeconomically, etc., it's not our fault. However, up till now in this month, they've paid us about 70 cents.
Oh, we're up to 70.
We're going to have you retired, I think, in about 200 years.
Oh yeah, I will enjoy that when I am a corpse on the throne.
That's right. That's right. The money will just keep rolling
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
Three.
talk about the personalized ads. I listened to our show the other day just to listen to it as I do occasionally, and I got ads for recruitment to the Navy. So maybe this is some kind of weird like fortune cookie thing. Maybe I need to pursue a career in the naval forces.
You know, the Navy's pretty safe as long as you don't fall overboard. I know a guy that was a Navy diver, and he said guys do fall overboard.
Yeah.
Which sounds really scary. Especially because this guy, I mean, I play golf with him. I couldn't imagine him jumping in and swimming after me.
Mm.
But I mean, he's not a real old guy, but he's been out of it a little while, and I don't know. I feel like he's lost some steps. Let's just say that. Love you, Murph. Now I will say I got to take on Dave and Company and his codex talk there. I don't so much mind buying a new codex. Okay, Does it suck that the thing goes out of date or whatever? Maybe. However, I play quite a few games. I've gotten a whole lot of mileage out of my codex, and I quite enjoy flipping through it still. Um, now, here's a piece of this. That's my first codex. I started in ninth edition, did not buy the codex, tried to buy the codex. They never could seem to get it to me. And then the 10th edition one was out, right?
That's odd.
Yeah, it was one of those things because it was the very end of ninth. Anyway, uh, so the other part is you have no idea where your codex is coming. So this time in 10th edition, my codex came out kind of early. For all I know, it may come out really late in 11th, so I may get 5 years out of a codex. Now, recently, and we may talk about it next week, just with the way that our recording schedule goes. GW did a Q&A, which I quite enjoyed. There was a little bit of unclear information therein. However, one bit that they did say that is pertinent to Dave and Company's comment on the codexes was that they're saying that the Crusade stuff is not going to be in the codex anymore. So, it is not the end of Crusade, but it is a very serious change to Crusade, which I would like to talk about at length in the future, maybe. Maybe next week we'll do a little. You know what? Let's have a show meeting. Austin, you ready to have a show meeting? He's taking a drink. He thumbs up. He's holding water in his mouth. He's swallowing.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to go.
We're a largely audio medium.
I'm waiting here with bated, held breath as I try not to drown.
I think we should do mini takes even more like a first take with Stephen A. and have like three chunks that we give takes on, so that we can like bang 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 in three big chunks. But anyway,
I'm open to it.
They're changing Crusade, and they're taking the Crusade rules out of the Codex. Now, they said that the 10th edition Crusade rules are still going to work, and I can see how that could be. However, the new stuff is going to be less of, it looks to me like it's going to be less of that bookkeeping that we've been doing in the past with our various rules of the Crusade book plus your Codex put together in this sort of, it's a lot to keep track of, basically. It's extra difficult because typically one person in the group will have the Crusade book, except everybody kind of needs it all the time, so it makes for a weird. In the case of a Crusade that's not happening at your house, but happening at a friendly local game store, you almost need to leave your Crusade book at the store and check it out like a library book or something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that everybody that wants to can play their missions and get their agendas and all that. And so they're not going to do it that way anymore. Now we're going to have it look more like Maelstrom, they say, where it's going to have the smaller books, and I think we're going to have like Crusade decks, and it's all going to be a little bit easier, I think, to pick up and play, which is fundamentally different, but I also think a net positive, just for the sake of getting more people to play Crusade, because I think it is one of the best ways to play.
Yeah, the whole dropping a book off at the game store for a campaign seems to be kind of the way things go with a lot of stuff like Necromunda and other games. You always end up having the guy who has everything, a library of the rules, and it's like, okay, well here's all the rules for you guys to use. We'll store them underneath this like castle terrain.
It makes me think too. This sort of friendly local game store library might be a neat idea. I wonder if we should pitch that to our friendly local game store. Because I tell you one thing, they've got, especially like the Crusade books and little odds and ends, kind of, if they've still got one, it's probably not going anywhere. Like, at what point does the store just write it off and put rental on the side of it? And it's like, they don't take it home, but here's our little section of books for, public use. That might be handy.
Yeah, I've floated this idea before, but so that you get the codexes there, you can rent them for a game for like $5 or something. I don't know. Insert your price there for a game, or maybe even do like you have the whole access to the public library of gaming material.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking like in the case of a crusade, the ones that I've run with people like Nachman Gauntlet, and we did a little Pariah Nexus. There were like 5 or 6 of us that played, and we never failed to play either at my house or at the friendly local game store, which can be worked out on the front end. So it's like the book could have lived at the game store, and I would have had to take a lot less pictures and send them in via text message to people because that's what we ended up with. And in hindsight, I probably could have just wrote my name in the corner of the book and left it up there. And I doubt anybody would have stolen it. Is my point.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get on to our main topic today. Um, GW had a leak come out, and I am so sick of leaks. I don't like them.
I never saw the leak.
I didn't either, but apparently they released a little video in response to leaked photos, which has become a thing. I also am always leery. I'm also a little suspicious of leaks because I mean I don't believe anything anybody says, especially on the internet, and you should not believe me either. Uh, at some point, GW is going to leak something themselves to then respond to a leak as just a different variety of release. Because why wouldn't you? Right?
Yeah.
Um, is this that? Who knows? But the leak was a picture of a sprue of terrain, allegedly by GW, that was pre painted.
Mhm.
And they came out and said,
Specifically, specifically UV painted or printed.
yeah, you'll have to explain to me what exactly that means.
I don't know what it is. I just know the term,
Okay.
and it's when you see it with a little dot matrix kind of stuff. It looks kind of rough and kind of pixely.
Okay, so it like takes a pass under some sort of printer then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's if you've seen the pre-printed like MDF terrain like at the shop and stuff, that I believe is UV printed because it's got the same kind of texture to it.
Now, see, I thought that those had some sort of. I thought the paint on those was some sort of film. Is that the case? And then maybe there's like a UV light or a heat process that then takes the film and like melts it and turns it into the color.
I have no idea. I haven't done any research into this. I just saw the term and I thought, yep, that's it.
People, please, listeners, get in the comments and let us know what the heck this UV printing process looks like because we don't know. The big thing is that it's a pre-painted miniature. Okay? And this opened up a litany of questions, a huge knock-on effect, if you will, um, for what this means for the future. So we've got on our show notes here a couple of a little rundown. GW releases pre-painted terrain. I mean, they didn't release it, but they're releasing. I'm sorry. I think these are your notes. They're very good. GW releasing pre-painted terrain. We've covered that. What is your take on does this hurt the hobby side?
I think it's a side grade. It's not bad or good. uh, this will probably be pricey terrain. I believe what this is for. This is for now. You have the money to drop on it. That's one thing, but this is going to be for tournament organizers who are organizing a tournament and they need like 20 tables of terrain next week.
So one thing quick about that, in that same Q&A that I referenced earlier, there were questions about that pre-painted terrain. There were two, in fact. One was, will there be unpainted versions? And they said yes. So that means we're going to have 2 price points, certainly. Real quick, what's your take? Pre-painted, 1/3 more expensive or double?
I'd shoot in that ballpark. 1/3 to double would be
So
the price. I wouldn't think it'd be more than that.
So let's take some recent GW terrain. Now we know that their little terrain sets are prohibitively expensive. $80 for a little nothing. You're going to need 6 of those.
No.
Whole sets though, what we could look to is the boarding actions terrain sets. Those are very dense. Those are
Mhm.
big chunky boxes. It's a lot of stuff. They're like, what are they, $220
Something like that. Maybe
thereabout?
pushing 300.
I want to say they're 220. So then that means, let's say, because this is allegedly going to be the whole set that you need for the layouts that are coming out with 11th edition, where they're going to have these 3 terrain layouts. You know, you're going to have your 2-inch wide walls. You're going to put them on their little footprints. Yada yada yada. Okay, 250 for the regular box. Golly, it won't be $500 for the pre-painted.
I'd say
If
300, 325.
350 maybe. That'd be about a third, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
350 for the
Kind
pre-painted
of,
box.
kind of pushing in that direction.
It'd have to be, right?
Yeah.
Because
I
otherwise
mean,
it wouldn't be worth doing. Like they either had
yeah,
to go ahead.
you're paying to essentially like fast forward the hobby a little bit and get to, and it's not necessarily a good standard. It's kind of just a quick like pass through, like you would see if someone was trying to like mass produce some terrain. You're just trying to get to that point and skip ahead.
Well, okay, a couple of things. One, um,
Yeah, you're
I
paying the premium for that.
well, and like, where's that premium coming from? Either they bought this great big UV printing thing, right? Or they've printed up this terrain, shipped it somewhere that does this. They've done the thing, made their money, shipped it back, right? And
Hmm.
that's where we get the 1/3 price increase, because if it was $20 more, then why would they even sell the unpainted version? Because for $20, yeah, go ahead and give me the pre-painted. But then they don't have any juice on $20 more. There's no way. So
Hmm.
so we're looking at probably like $100 something more for this. So it's definitely premium. I gotta say too, just from the picture. Now, I got a couple of takes. One, it looks hugely better than any of that pre-painted MDF stuff, or even the pre-painted stuff that I've seen that is like in hard plastic. You know, those sets made by what is it, Snot Goblin or something like that. Have you seen those?
I
Where
can
they,
look it up real quick, but
yeah,
yeah.
they're pre-painted terrain sets that sort of like snap together. You know, they sort of do the Lego thing where they're modular, so you get the shapes that you need or whatever out of the box, but they're not
Hmm.
necessarily they don't necessarily look like anything besides ruined walls. The
Are they
fact
pre-painted?
they sell a unpainted and a pre-painted version of
Okay,
what I'm
I
talking
think I
about. I,
see
I
it
could
now.
I could have the brand wrong, but I want to say that's it.
Yeah.
Um, Now the thing is, the GW ones look so much better because they are that highly detailed plastic, you know, GW style thing that we're used to getting. Now,
They've got depth.
yeah, they've got depth, they've got texture, they've got, even if the paint is not the most like accurately applied thing in the world, you still just get like actual light interacting
Yeah.
with surfaces that make it so much more interesting. Not to mention all of that, GW IP protected iconography. However, on the other hand, uh, it's still on a sprue, so you got to cut it out. So now you're going to have sprue marks all around the edge. So, okay, you can black marker all the edges. Let's just say. Let's say you are totally against painting anything. You could like take black marker and all around the edges, like we do with MDF terrain, right? Um, from the pictures I've seen, these assemblies are not just, you know, tab A into slot A and the thing is together. It looks like an actual model kit. And are they going to recommend we use like Gorilla Glue glass that doesn't cloud white? Because you're not going to be able to plastic glue them together, because the plastic glue probably won't penetrate the UV paint stuff. So you're gonna have to super glue them together, and then if you super glue them together, you're gonna have all this white fuzz coming out unless you use something that doesn't do that. I got
That's
questions.
that's that's why we're waiting on the new Citadel product A super glue that does not fog, does not do anything. It only glues UV models.
Yeah, I mean, You see what I mean, though? It's got it opens up some questions that I don't think we had before. Do you think that so? What a lot of people are saying is that this is to combat the 3D printing uh, onslaught, the 3D printing plague. Hey, you know what? Here's a hot take: the 3D printing sucks, and I hate it. Get it out of my face. Your terrain looks like
I
crap. Nobody wants it. There's the clip for the beginning of the show.
yeah.
Um,
I think with the 3D printing, I think what you just can't have the filament lines. You can't have any filament lines. Just like you have a filament line, it sucks.
well, and it's not just the filament printers either. Like they're the greatest offenders by far. They drive me nuts. Everything looks like it got. I mean, what it looks like corrugated cardboard, except not even.
Yeah,
I hate it.
everything's digitized, kind of.
And then the resin prints. Nobody I know actually has a printer big enough. Like I haven't seen anybody with a big enough printer to actually print big terrain. Like you see all these guys on YouTube, many of them doing terrain 3D printed videos that are sponsored by like Bamboo Labs or whoever, whatever your 3D printing brand wants to pay them money, right? And they ship them the biggest and the best 3D printer and all the stuff, right? And they print out terrain that looks like terrain, like real, big, usable terrain. That is not the experience that I'm seeing locally. That's not what I'm seeing on like play channels, even on YouTube. Like nobody's buying the $2,500 printer to print terrain because then it still takes forever. It costs however much in resin. It's ridiculous. So we
Oh,
got
your
guys.
castle didn't cure its leaking.
What's that?
I said your castle didn't cure its leaking. Now toxic.
Yeah.
Throw it in the trash.
Or you had to cut it up into so many tiny pieces that it doesn't actually fit together. It's ridiculous, and I hate it. And a lot of the times, stuff on angles and things still have all these print lines. So you can't paint it, you can't dry brush it, because as soon as you dry brush it, which is the thing that you want to do for terrain, because who's trying to sit and brush paint terrain for 72 hours? Not me, all right? When I paint terrain, I like to use all the old shortcuts. I want to airbrush here, I want to dry brush there, I want to throw some dirt on it, and it's done.
Hmm.
You do that with your run of the mill 3D prints, whether they're FDM or not, and it all it does is highlight everything wrong with it. So, will this thing that GW is doing actually put a dent in that? Like for my take, I wish it would, but I don't know if it will. What do you think?
It's got to go cheaper if they want to do that. It's got to go cheaper. It's got to be more. It's got to be something a gamer can just easily buy without breaking the bank, and that's always been the issue with terrain. Is it costs an arm and a leg to get a full table that looks good, uh, and then painting it up. So a lot of people would rather just go play at the local store where they kind of slowly gather terrain over like generations of being open and getting stuff. So you have everything you need there. Trying to foot your own bill with the terrain for a table layout is an expensive process.
Yeah.
So if they want to combat 3D printing, they need to drop that price down to something that's a lot more consumer friendly.
Do you think that the new terrain rules might help to combat 3D printing as well? Because now that everything is a terrain feature, this sort of amalgamous concept of a terrain feature, and they're I feel like the party piece of this entire thing are the like 2-inch wide terrain features that are essentially your line of sight blocking walls. The new terrain rules appear that you could practically play with no terrain and just the areas on them. Now, you would not want to. You're going to want a little bit of like holy line of sight blocking. Basically, you're going to want a couple of walls with no windows, probably. However, then we've got hidden now. So my point is, any old terrain that for 10th edition and ninth, a lot of ninth, was suboptimal, I think you're going to be able to just throw it out there and it work pretty well. And then there becomes a question of, are this sort of the most obnoxious people in the hobby next to us, um, talking heads and content creators? But the most obnoxious people, of course, are the meta chasers and the competitive people who want this standardization at all times.
Hmm.
Will they decide, oh, GW finally released an entire set of terrain that they mean to be the terrain? Will they just say, that's what we're going to do? Because that'll shut down frontline gaming nearly overnight, won't it?
Yeah, I'd say if,
Like, that would be the end of their terrain business,
and this goes
which
back
would be a
to, I guess,
shame
for
because
the,
some of theirs is nice.
yeah, yeah, it go back to affordability. But if it's such a thing where any meta chaser can go buy himself some terrain, and not even that. Like if the store just has it, if their gaming environment has it, and that's kind of seen as the default. Everyone's like, no, we have to play on GW terrain because that's what they have now. I could definitely see that killing or stunting the third party terrain like MBF sellers. I could see that totally happening, and I feel like it's in Games Workshop's favor to do that because uh, they're getting not to defend the big company, but they're getting bled out in a lot of different areas that they're not really pursuing.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, I don't think people 3D printing their armies is a funny one because not to just get into the 3D printing debate, but I don't feel like that's as big of a thing as this terrain thing because right now, as we sit here, it feels rare that you play on a table, at least you and we've got access to a few friendly local game stores. It's rare that you play on a table that has any GW terrain whatsoever.
Oh yeah,
Friendly game, competitive game, RTT, anything like that. Um, However, I could see, because you think about it, the friendly local game store is getting this stuff at cost. So they could, if they've got 5 gaming tables in their space, they could buy 5 sets and it would not be the end of the world because now all their terrain needs are covered. They can take they could take all the stuff that's broken and collecting dust in the back and all that and throw it out and make some space. Uh, but we'll have to see. Some places are certainly going to do that. There's going to be people that opt in on this. The question is how widely um, embraced is that going to be? Um,
yeah,
let's continue down our list. Does it help the gaming side?
100%. Like I said
Yeah.
before, this is for if you're setting up a tournament and you need this stuff in advance. Like the clock's coming down, you need to get your tables ready for the tournament. You just buy all this stuff, and you've skipped the nights of dry brushing terrain pieces and trying to make it look table ready. The stuff is already table ready. It's good at a glance. Like it's definitely there at the battle ready terrain standard. So if you're looking at just jump starting your gaming ability in a miniature Warhammer, this is it. This is what you have to buy.
Yeah. And, as far as helping the game, like, here's the thing. We'll see when 11th drops if it's actually, like, quote unquote good terrain, if it's balancing terrain, if it's fair terrain. I think it will be no matter what you throw on those terrain areas, is my opinion. I don't really think that with the way Hidden's going to work, with the way the -1 ballistic skill and all that is going to work, I don't think that you're going to have much trouble whatever you put on those various footprints. Now, GW is saying they're going to release a footprints, and I think they're going to be cardboard, which is fine. I tell you, I'm not so excited about those from GW. I want to see the footprints done in neoprene because I like a little
Mhm.
neoprene, and I like how it's not so slick. Your guys aren't going to slide around as
Yeah.
much. Um, your terrain's going to sit a little firmer on there. Uh, you'll be able to roll them up or lay them flat or whatever you want to do. They would be very durable. So I'm looking forward to neoprene, and I want to be able to pick what's on them. So I'm thinking like ruined neon spaceship type stuff, right? And then I'll put whatever I want on top. So that way they contrast my particular desert gaming mat. But how it's good for the game, I think, is just the same reason that painting's good for the game. You're going to have, okay, the worst terrain set on the planet to me are those MDF square measured um, FLG, frontline gaming style. What is it? The ITC designed,
Yeah.
prescriptive sets that are just brown. They don't have any detail at all. Those
Mhm.
are the worst terrain sets in the world, and I think that those hurt the game. They make it feel
Mhm.
like a game. They make you feel like, what did I bother putting 20 hours into this character to paint him for when he's going to stand in a wooden box for half the game? That sucks. That does not feel like
Get in the
only war.
box.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like only war in the 41st millennium. It just doesn't.
The
So,
only war in the paintball course.
yeah, it's only war in the paintball course. Yeah, really. It's just like paintball. Oh, today we're playing on the whatever, the industrial kill zone. Oh yeah, what's it look like? Well, we got some plywood, and we've decided that the red barrels are a conveyor belt. Like, all right,
Don't worry, someone's taking a stencil and stenciled an Aquila on it or something to make it look not so bad.
yeah. All right. Then we're into the real juicy stuff. Will GW ever sell pre-painted armies? What's your take?
I think this opens up the can of worms for that.
Now,
Because if they can do it with terrain, why can't they do it with miniatures?
I got a few reasons why, but number one, in the Q&A set, they said no, they don't have any intention to do pre-painted miniatures. But
For
that's
now.
what right for now. That's what they said in the Q&A. Now, got a couple of thoughts about this. One, and I hope that we can get a little clarity from our lovely listeners down below on this whole UV printing process. I suspect that you take your flat sprue and you put it in a thing and it does, prints like on paper and you get what you get, right? GW would have to completely redesign like a sprue of Space Marines because right now the orientations of all the pieces, the size of all the pieces, the sort of assembly method of all the pieces, I don't see how that could possibly work for like a printing process that is not like beyond any capability that I could possibly imagine, right? Because you'd have to sort of like print the top and the bottom and the side and just damn near the sides too, and like there's sprue holding the thing together still. Like unless you're going to send it out pre-assembled and somehow painted, like I don't see how this particular example of the, let's call it an advance in technology, could translate into the next. Number two, my take on why I doubt we'll ever see this is because what would that mean? Is that the death of the Dark Angels? Is that the death of the Blood Angels? Is that the death of the Salamanders, of the White Scars, of insert any non blue Space Marine that you can think of? Because what they're not about to do is have 47 different colors stocked at your friendly local game store of anything. That would be crazy. A little piece
Get
of
some
GW's.
Cacardon peg warmers.
What's that?
I said go to the local game store and see the Kakaradons peg warming it on the stand.
Yeah, I mean it'd be insane. In fact, a little bit of GW's brilliance in their whole deal is that you can buy intercessors for so many armies, right? You can buy a dreadnought for every army, and it's one dreadnought. And like, yeah, they're different flavors of Space Marines, except then they have like your specialty units, which are not that many. Like, just from a stocking and a production position, it's not that much extra stuff. When you think, okay, well, if it was pre-painted, then we'd have to have intercessors for salamanders. We'd have to have intercessors for ultramarines. We'd have to have intercessors for yada 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 yada. That'd be a disaster.
Hmm.
Like, how would think about your friendly little game store? How would you stock that? How would you order for that? It'd be
I think you
impossible.
wouldn't. This would be a Games Workshop sort of online only, made to order, or at least it'd be a more boutique thing. I think.
I think it would be the opposite of that. You know what I do think if we ever saw pre-painted models, they'd be in a starter box, they'd be push fit, they'd be ultramarines or whatever flavor a starter box type of thing was. And you'd get your 25 models or so and they're pre-painted and that would be like your now you're into Warhammer and get ready for the shock of this next bunch, no push fit pins and no paint on them. Good luck, right?
Yeah. Uh, I was actually going to mention that. I think if they were to roll this out, we'd see a return to the monopose '90s Marines, where they're all holding their bolter like that in the same way.
Perhaps because I think the printing process would require something like that. You know, your
Yeah,
you have a penchant for those old flat looking metal miniatures, and I bet
I love them.
those would take UV paint, boy. I bet they
Yeah,
would.
I'd buy them unpainted. I'd need those.
Yeah, yeah, just for your soul.
Yeah, just to have them.
Um, I've got one more point here, and then we'll close because I got to watch this basketball. It's the playoffs. We're recording a day early today, so go Spurs. Uh, is this why GW will never reformulate their trash ass paints?
Oh well. Speaking of that, we are seeing more leaks coming out of a pro line of Warhammer paint.
A pro line, really? I've not seen this.
Yes, check the Discord. I had posted that after seeing it on Reddit. It is a apparent leak from eBay of someone who's selling. Who knows where they got this? A box of Warhammer Tone Pro,
Hmm.
and inside are
And
three.
and and
I think it's four
inside
intercessors.
and inside
No,
are
they're Van.
25 bottles of Army Painter Fanatics.
Yeah. But inside are I guess a Vanguard veteran, maybe one of them, maybe a couple. I think it's just one, but and then there's like a little brochure with a photo of like three of them painted an increasing quality with like a bronze, a silver, and a gold award next to it. Uh, and it seems like this is hinting at a new line of paints that are going to be much more. See, what's the term for it? It's like the AK series where they kind of each lead into the next one.
Oh, I have a phrase that I hope they would be is less crap. Could they be less crap?
Yes, they can because they will be in dropper bottles.
Progress. You know what? I'm a fan of progress.
Yeah,
GW's first new paint line in God knows how long. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be wonderful. Meanwhile,
we'll have to
all
see
the
the price.
me, meanwhile all the other paint brands that we know and love are on like their third or fourth iteration. But sure, their second, I'm sure it'll be great. I do not hold out much hope for this endeavor. I think if you're looking at GW for paints, you should try a second one. But that's like my take. And next week we'll be back with more of your
Many takes.
See you next time.